To qualify for search enhancements, you have to provide these explicit clues about the page, but you can't just add the information to the page all willy-nilly. By structuring the information in a way that Google can better understand what's on the page, they then know how to share that information within their search results. And to do this, you use what's called structured data. The structured data connects each piece of the information so that it's clear what data matches up with what using the schema.org vocabulary. Think of this sort of like a matching game where you're saying this title matches Pro Aqua Prime hot tub steps in this example, and the price is $129.99 and the currency is in Canadian dollar. This is where some of you might be like, oh my gosh, she's showing me some code. Don't worry. I just wanted you to have a better idea of where this comes from. There's going to be 3 different types of formatting that you can use to add structured data. RDFA is rarely used, so I don't really want to spend time on this one. Just know that it's an option and that it utilizes HTML. Microdata also uses HTML, but it's much more common to see that in your Shopify theme. Up until recently, Shopify required all themes to include microdata, but have since moved towards the JSON LD format. So many older Shopify themes who have migrated to JSON LD still have that leftover microdata in their code. So you may see microdata spread throughout your templates because it's nested into different areas of the code, which makes it really hard to edit sometimes. JSON LD is a format that came from the JavaScript world, and that puts all of your data in one place rather than spread throughout your theme. This is Google's preferred method to enter in the structured data. JSON LD is the modern formatting for structured data, and it is the gold standard. So if you wanted to learn more about structured data, maybe you have a desire to learn more about this, you should learn about JSON LD. So there's going to be instances where you can't qualify for search enhancements. So let's talk about what those exclusions might be. First of all, if your store is password protected, that means Google cannot crawl your site. So not only can passwords impact your rich results, but it can impact your SEO as a whole. So I don't recommend turning on and off passwords unless you are able and willing to accept the risk that you're going to lose all of your traffic from Google. The other thing is that Google only wants you to mark up specific products with structured data and explicitly calls out not marking up category or a list of products. In Shopify terms, that's your collections. So for example, in Google's guidelines here, it says that shoes in our shop is not a specific product, meaning I cannot buy shoes in our shop, but I can buy this particular shoe. So it's different. You cannot win product search enhancements on collection pages, no matter what people might tell you. The other exclusion that can be a little iffy sometimes is adult-related products are not supported with rich results, but Google doesn't really define what adult products are, so it's kind of squishy. Some sexual products may or may not be allowed. For example, I've seen condoms and some toys that receive search enhancements, but it's inconsistent. Vapes, lingerie, and alcohol are definitely permitted though. And then finally, I've seen some SEO apps include more data, but more doesn't always equate to success. There are thousands of different combinations of schema that you could use. So it's important to understand what information Google actually cares about. So you can't just say, I have 20 fields completed, I must be good, because quality matters more than quantity. And all of that to say, don't let your attempt to have perfect structured data be the enemy of good enough. You can have all the possible fields that schema.org allows, but that isn't as good as the ones that Google will actually use. I've seen a lot of apps and stores want to add schema types solely because it exists and they think it's going to help them. For example, I've seen someone that have asked me to add the schema property for keywords, and then they'll actually enter their keywords in the data. Well, Google doesn't read the keywords field. That doesn't mean anything to them. But what you've done is actually help out your competitors, because now you've leaked your keywords so they know exactly what you're targeting. I've also seen internal tags or inventory count being leaked. So you want to be really careful about what information you're entering into these SEO apps, or at least know where that information that you've entered is going to be displayed. There are literally thousands of fields that schema.org supports, but Google only has 30 types of features, some of which are still in early testing, let alone the number of features that you can actually qualify for on e-commerce stores. Structured data has applications outside of SEO, which is why the majority of fields are ignored by search engines and don't actually impact your SEO. Also, having all of the possible fields that Google uses, well, that's not as good as having all of the fields Google uses and your code is stable. So working with a trusted developer or an app to provide that structured data is equally as important, because Google does make updates to their requirements. So you need to have that trusted partner who's keeping up on their changes as they come out.